I'm slowly converting my agency into a venture studio. And by doing so, I got a couple of contacts who wanted to partner up with us. And the way we want to do this venture studio is that we partner up with people and then work on a revenue share business model. This is the starter block of one product we are just starting, and we are pretty much 1 week into the development now. And I don't want to do some kind of building in public because this is a YouTube channel for non-technical people. Rather than building in public, I want to give you a decision log of what were the important decisions that we took in this product development and why did we do so. So this will give you a bit of a more higher level view on things. This is how the product looks right now. You see it's a CRM. It has a website in front of it. That's why we call it an integrated CRM. But we go into the details in a bit. The first decision was to actually start it. And the story behind this is the following. I have a good friend, contact, who works as a sales coach. And he has a couple of people in his network that all need the same solution, basically an own website, a so-called funnel as they call it, and with some kind of lead capture below that to send out some promo materials and then an email sequence, and then also the ability to book calls. So my friend approached me and said he wanted to build this thing in WordPress and in Go High Level. Go High Level basically is a software as a service solution that's very popular in the United States right now. The way it works is that you buy an account for around $500 per month, and then you can create sub accounts and resell them to whatever you're doing with that. So on the first side, this looks like a viable solution. But then when I looked at what they have patched together in order to make it work, I noticed that it's just not great for conversion. So the lead had to put in their email address a couple of more times. And then the whole website was slow and was not so pretty, let's put it like that. So my contact approached me and said, why don't you develop this and we're going to sell it together? So this is basically the backstory. And the first decision I had to make is to actually go into this niche. And before I took the decision, I was a bit hesitant because it's a somewhat a specific product as I thought. Now there was one reason why I thought this would actually be applicable to a wider market, as we are basically giving people a website and then the integration below that. So we have to take care of a lot of hosting stuff as well. And looking back, there is this couple of friends of mine running startups and they've built successful products, make millions of dollars by dog fooding. So dog fooding is the principle of I have a problem and I'm going to solve this for myself first and then I sell it because I have the assumption that other people have the same problem that I have, or at least some of them in the market. They're quite like me, so I can sell it to them as well. And that made me think, anytime I wanted to create a website with some kind of lead capture below it and with some kind of booking module, I had to patch together a couple of solutions, like a Calendly, like an email autoresponder software like ConvertKit or Aweber or so, and then survey tool and so on. And so this solution would not just be for the salespeople, it would basically also work for coaches and technically also for SaaS products that we are building here and anyone in the education industry. So I thought the totally addressable market could actually be way bigger. So the first decision was to actually start that, and it took me 2 weeks to evaluate the whole thing and then decide, okay, let's invest solid 2 months into the development and see if it works for them. The second decision was, how do we call this thing? And what are we actually building? And I noticed that CRM is actually the name that people use, especially salespeople. And there are CRMs out there that are getting sold for $25,000 per year for a license to rent a software as a service. So I think the name tag CRM is a high value proposition already. And then when it comes to hosting, now hosting is a bit of a tricky thing because hosting, you can get a website for very cheap. And what we are building is basically custom websites for everybody. My hope there is that in the future, we can auto-generate with AI these websites. So eventually the cost will go down for this kind of product. And yes, there's also, of course, the threat that the actual need for this will also go down because maybe we don't need websites anymore in the future. But anyway, we decided to build this and we call it the integrated CRM because you have your own website and below this is the CRM and the leads basically go into the CRM. Decision number 3 is the development team. I decided that I would be the CTO here and I would take the next 2 months to really focus on this. So basically I'm only doing this and I'm running this YouTube channel. And I'm able to talk to the client and figure out the solution that they need. And then I'm also able to push a bit of the development, not too much. I made a basic prototype, but then I also have another engineer who works alongside with me. So I'm going to focus on doing the code reviews with that other backend developer. And I'm pushing a couple of things along the way just to be faster. So a couple of things I'm planning to do is, for example, an email autoresponder list, and also the video capabilities, because the websites will have a lot of videos inside. And then also for the team, we have one more front-end developer, and we haven't hired them yet. We are still in the process of vetting them. We have a couple of candidates, and we will then select this person, and then we have a team of 3. So me as a CTO and one backend developer and one front-end developer. And depending on how many websites we're going to build in the future, we will also have maybe multiple front-end developers, because this might be quite an effort. Decision number 4 is we're going to use Ruby on Rails and Next.js in the front end. And between there is REST. And this is why on the blog post that you can see on my website, I actually used this picture in order to show this is our stack. So basically, decision number 4 means we're going to have one central server that is the CRM that hosts all the data. And then all the websites, they're going to get hosted on individual domains, on individual web spaces. And in between, there is a REST API. That means if a lead opts in, they will be able to get the confirmation email from the CRM, but sent from the actual domain. And then they will be able to access an own area on the website. So with our integrated CRM, it will be possible for leads to get more information on a website. It's like a members area. And so why do we use Next.js? Just because hiring is easy. There are a lot of React developers on this world right now. Then it is from what I've seen, the most prominent framework to build websites in JavaScript. And it's a very speedy framework. So whenever you make a website and upload it, it's going to be super fast. So we will have benefits in SEO and in page speed and in general UX. The decision for Ruby on Rails and the backend is just because I know Ruby on Rails, and we already have built a couple of apps in Ruby on Rails. So I'm able to copy the best parts of those and reuse them for this app. So basically, we're going to save around a month of work just for the whole basic setup. And in between, there is a REST API. There are not so many choices for APIs. You usually don't use this XML stuff anymore for this kind of tag. You usually only have the choice between REST and GraphQL. I find GraphQL not necessary here because it's going to be more complicated. So REST is going to be very simple, and we're going to put an open API specification in there so that developers can actually read the specs really well and use that API of the CRM. And decision number 5, and the last one, is that we don't use any UX designer. So the way we work is we use something called a component framework, and we're using Polaris from Shopify. Shopify also is a Ruby on Rails company, and they made this Polaris framework, I think also in React, and someone transported that framework to Ruby on Rails backend. So what you see here is the Polaris component framework, but you see it's not everything is Polaris. Basically only the frame around the app is Polaris, and a couple of buttons are. But inside, it's all ChatGPT. And this is the trick. I myself, I'm a backend developer, and I have no good UX skills. I cannot design CSS really well, and I can just use Tailwind CSS just a bit in order to make something not look too bad. And the way we're working here is that we use a lot of ChatGPT. So we're basically taking screenshots from, let's say, Dribbble. We copy it into ChatGPT and ask like, hey, can you make me a Tailwind UI from that? And then we use that and add it to the templates of the CRM. So the idea here is that we don't have a UX designer because it's gonna slow us down. Meaning if we now get the perfect UX, yes, I know it's gonna look better, but the problem is this. I don't even know if the people we are selling this to are gonna use a certain feature and how they're gonna use it. So it's likely we have to change it anyway. Second thing is, if I now get a UX and I have to do extra work to make it pretty, I'm not going to be as motivated as I would else be by just hacking it and shipping it. I want to be fast with this because we don't even know if it's going to work. There's always a chance it does not work. So I want to be fast with that. And then the third thing is, ChatGPT actually is quite powerful doing that. The stuff that you see here is not great, but it already works to an extent where I would say it's usable. And we demoed it to the sales partner already, and he was super happy. If you want more updates like this, subscribe to our emails or to the YouTube. And next week, we'll have another update on probably the email list already.